Good evening. I'm KHU11 meteorologist Chris Ramirez with your Tropics update. We are tracking a new wave across the African coast. It is emerging into open waters, and the thing to note here is that the National Hurricane Center is still giving this a 20% chance of development within the next 7 days. This is a pretty low chance as we look at the situation. Right now it's becoming a bit better organized as we're looking at the latest scans of the satellite imagery, but it's going to be interesting to tell whether or not this system is going to be continuing its movement across the Atlantic and making that long journey across the Atlantic Ocean. And the reason being is because we are tracking some Saharan dust that's currently in over the Atlantic as well. So as we look at that Saharan dust forecast, we do have a plume of it that's currently situated just north of South America. And so if it does take that southerly track, this plume is just going to keep that system from strengthening or becoming better organized. And so something that we're going to have to keep an eye on still as we head into the closer towards the peak of hurricane season. But models are hinting at another wave that's going to be emerging off the African coast in the coming days. And that system could very well end up in the middle of the Atlantic. It's very too early to tell as we go into the coming days with this system out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So as that system emerges, we are definitely going to continue to see these waves moving off the African coast as we get closer towards the peak of hurricane season, which is on September 10th. And so we're currently getting closer to that September 10th date. We're about end of August, and so usually we've seen quite significant storms move into the Gulf and into the Caribbean during this time. We had Harvey, we had Katrina, even Ike, Rita, some of the storms in recent memory that moved into and affected the U.S. So as we look at the Atlantic Basin names so far this year, we've already scratched off Fernand. That was a tropical storm. That system has definitely weakened into a tropical depression, not posing a threat to the U.S. or Southeast Texas. That's going to continue its track off into the northern Atlantic, into cooler waters. Our next name on the list is Gabriel, Humberto, Imelda, Jerry, Karen, Lorenzo, Melissa, and Nestor. So as we look at 2024's hurricane tracks, we had a very active season last year. We had quite significant landfalls in terms of all the storms that we endured last year. We had Hurricane Beryl, we had Francine, even Helene, Debbie, and Milton, and all of these storms causing quite a bit of damage and catastrophic destruction across the southern U.S. We had our fair share of Beryl that caused hurricane force winds. But as we head into tomorrow, we are approaching the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. Of course, as you all know, that did impact New Orleans and was a very catastrophic storm. But I just wanted to show you the inner eye wall of Hurricane Katrina as it was over open waters. This is from the Hurricane Hunters, and if you see, this is called the stadium effect, and this is really the inner eye wall. And at the center of the storm, very calm. You're seeing those blue skies inside the eye of the hurricane. But it's along the inner eye wall is when the winds are the most destructive. And so that's something to really kind of keep an eye on in terms of the 20th anniversary. I know we have several specials going on across KHU 11 Plus, which one that just aired about a few moments ago. But as we look at the tropics and as we head closer to the peak of hurricane season, the thing to note is that we are seeing mostly quiet conditions for the most part. We're not expecting to be threatened by any tropical system in the next 7 days. However, the National Hurricane Center is still highlighting another area, another wave moving off the African coast as we go into the next 7 days. So there's a 20% chance of development. And as we look at that system, the thing to note is that we are expecting that Saharan dust to be in the picture at least for this week. We have a plume of it moving over the north of South America, and it's actually over that area, that track where that disturbance off the African coast is. And so as we all know, Saharan dust really does limit tropical development, and we still have it across the Atlantic currently, and it's keeping the tropics at bay. We're definitely seeing quiet conditions, but that could not be that really well, won't last longer because we very well could see additional waves and additional storms that could flare up as we get closer to the peak of hurricane season. I'm going to go ahead and show you this model. Of course, take this weather model as a grain of salt. We are expecting another wave to emerge just around maybe September 2nd or 3rd, the first part of September. Our GFS, our American model, is showing another wave moving over the Atlantic Ocean. And eventually, as we go into the first half or the first week of September, we could see that system becoming more organized. But this is very far out and very too early to tell whether or not that very well could happen because we don't have a system yet. But it's just one of our models that we're showing. And one thing to note here is that you can't really take one model into consideration. We have to see more of an agreement of all weather models when it comes to hurricane season. So that's one of the things, is that we could see another wave. It's very common for this to happen, especially as we get close to the peak of hurricane season, but expecting that peak date to approach us fairly soon as we get closer towards September 10th, which is that peak of hurricane season date across our areas. And so as we look at elsewhere in the tropics, I think we were tracking Fernand. That was a tropical storm. It didn't develop into really anything, or it didn't really threaten land. But right now, as we look at that system, there it is right there, pretty much fizzling out into nothing as it moves into cooler waters going into the next 2 to 3 days. We still have some cloud and some activity out in the Bermuda area, but Miami mostly just quiet. The only thing that we're looking at is that wave that's just off the African coast that could develop into something. But like I said, it's the Saharan dust that could limit that system. But it's very well common for us to have several waves as we get closer towards that peak date, which is September 10th, as I've already said. But looking at the Saharan dust forecast, plume of it keeping the tropics at bay. We're seeing a little bit out in the Caribbean, but that plume is expected to move into the Caribbean and Gulf, eventually bringing those hazy skies back to southeast Texas as we head into the next few days. So definitely expecting quiet conditions for the most part, as we head into 4 to 5 days from now. But it's still an important reminder as we celebrate some of the catastrophic storms, not really celebrate, but ring in or honor the storms that have impacted across southeast Texas. We're definitely expecting those conditions to remain quiet going into the next few days. And as far as our 7-day forecast, we do have rain chances here across the Houston area for this weekend, but we are expecting it to be a little bit of an unsettled weather pattern as we head into Saturday and Sunday. And of course, that's our tropics update. Make sure to tune in on KHU 11 News tonight at 10. We'll have the latest news and weather headlines later on this evening.